probably that one that's watching. Two watching. Alright. If you can hear me, shout out in the chat, and I will see that. Also, let me know how the video quality is so I can adjust settings and whatnot. Alrighty then. So this is the scene I was working on the other day. This is currently playing back in real time, so not quite as pretty as the actual renders, although you'll still see little artifacts like this in the extreme depth of field type of stuff. But depending on what I end up doing for the actual stream, and I still got to do some asset prep and that kind of thing, because I want to cover a few basic things, like just kind of show that you can have code and that kind of stuff function, and that kind of stuff within your cinematics while they're playing back, and hopefully cover how to set that up. Not so much the coding side of things. I kind of want to have that kind of pre-made before I go in. I'll show a little bit, but in terms of actually doing it, that can take longer than what I'd probably cover in an actual stream. So, once I have like a kind of a solid game plan. Right now, the kind of idea I have in my head is not dissimilar from a sequence that was cut from Battlestar Galactica Blood and Chrome. I don't know if that ever made it to the... No, it probably didn't, because I don't think we ended up finishing those scenes. But there was a scene in an asteroid field where you kind of see Adama's piloting skills for the first time, and he goes up against a Cylon weapons platform, kind of like a missile turret, or a series of missile turrets attached to some asteroids. And I was thinking perhaps doing something similar to that with this ship, because it's already in Unreal Engine, and I'll probably steal some turrets off of one of my models, probably off the Demeter model. I eventually want to get my at least one or two of my Blood and Chrome ships into Unreal Engine as well. You can see I was already starting to work on kind of cleaning up some stuff here. Although it could be crashed. We'll see. But that will take a while for me to go through and make it properly UV'd and that kind of stuff. It's going to have to be multiple UV sets so that I can do what I want in Substance Painter, as well as generate some tiling textures so the materials aren't soft. But because those are fairly large. I mean, this model here is using multiple 8K maps, but they are currently, I think, only displaying at 4K. But I mean, it's good for what it is. If I actually jump out of sequencer, just go back to this model here. I've actually run the auto-generate LODs, level of detail stuff on, and you can't really tell I've done that, and I'm not even really sure how much it does until I start getting really far away, and then you can see it pop right there. So I don't know how much that will save on performance and stuff over the life of the mesh, but just to give a little brief rundown, because it looks like there are a couple people watching. My computer, Burning Earth, it's actually pretty old, but the graphics card is a 1080 Ti. I have it's a dual Xeon system, 6 cores each CPU, and there's 48 gigabytes of RAM. But the CPU is only a 2.4 gigahertz per, and so that is adequate to run Unreal Engine. The 1080 Ti that's in there, I pulled out my other 3 1080 Ti's the other day because I wasn't planning on doing any Octane stuff, and I wanted to save on electricity costs, because electricity is pretty expensive where I live. But yeah, it's the 1080 Ti's certainly help, but I can run Unreal Engine. I have a Microsoft Surface Book 2 with a GTX 1060, and it runs Unreal Engine okay. So I wouldn't necessarily run everything at cinematic levels on that, but it is possible. And of course, when you render to file, your graphics card doesn't really matter as much as long as you have enough memory on it to load the scene that you're trying to render. But you can change the display settings and whatnot, and it will kind of pick and choose what it thinks will run best on your system. So, but before I saw that, what I was gonna do is just kind of go over what I have here. Let's see. So here is just the model of the ship that I brought in. I guess it was the day before yesterday at this point, and here are all the materials and stuff for it and whatnot. This was textured in Substance Painter, so these are multiple 8K maps displaying at 4K. I go into the textures folder. Actually, not all of them are 8K. Some of them are less. But if I do the mouse over, it says on this one the dimensions are 4096 by 4096. If I open it up, what does it say? So that one is just a straight 4K. These ones are probably 8K. The panels themselves, yeah. So imported at 8K, displayed at 4K. And you can tell it what you want. So you can kind of LOD your imported textures. If you're running into performance issues as well, you can go in here and have it like kind of auto reduce, kind of map it down to something that your computer can display, and then you could theoretically then turn it up for rendering out to file, which is something that we'll probably cover in a later stream. I suspect this will be kind of a multi-stream thing. But this is a pretty lightweight scene. Otherwise, these are just kind of default rocks. Here's a rock from the Kite demo that Epic released, and that's what I'm going to be using for the asteroids, just because I could make my own asteroids, and I've done it, but it's not necessarily something I need to reinvent the wheel for a live stream. So the only thing that we'll have to forgive is that occasionally on these you'll see like a little bit of moss and stuff like that, which isn't really space worthy. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to attach some turrets to some of these rocks, and what I want to do, and I kind of have to, this is one of those things I'm gonna have to set up in advance before the actual live stream, is to have them kind of auto target the the hero ship, and then fire probably going to end up being like lasers, just because it's easier than doing missile trails. Because the missile trails will involve particles, and every time I've tried to attach a particle system to a projectile, it involves a lot of tweaking, and so I don't think I'm going to do that right out of the gate, especially trying to do something live, which is going to be stressful enough without having to sit there and do and make everything work perfectly first time out the gate. But another thing I'm probably going to cover is materials themselves. So here's Unreal Engine's material editor, and right now I just the master file just has one of the hull plate textures loaded in. But one of the great things about Unreal Engine is that you can create something called a material instance, and if I just open up one of these instances, it's basically descendant of that master material, and you can change out anything that you set as some sort of parameter, which is just another word for variable, if you have any understanding of programming, any of that kind of stuff. And so say I wanted to adjust the specular amount here, I just convert that to a parameter, and then save out the material. It'll take a few minutes to cook, or moments I should say. And then if I go back here, you can see the specular setting is now here, and then I can in real time adjust anything that adjust it to anything I want. Now, because it's a PBR system and it's already metallic and all that, you're not really going to see a particular change on that particular, which is why it wasn't exposed previously. But that's just a kind of an example of some of the things I kind of want to cover. And just because I'm OCD about this kind of stuff, I will probably spend more time cleaning up these nodes so that they are easier to see. So today is currently Tuesday, and I plan to live stream on Saturday evening, because I should have the house to myself, so there won't be like noise, and I won't be interrupting. You won't hear the TV in the background or anything like that. But other than like you'd probably hear my dog. Whenever I'm doing any kind of recording, she always decides that's a perfectly good time to start barking. Yeah. The other kind of last thing, and I don't really have any examples, just kind of ready to go. But I want to cover blueprints a little bit. And so what blueprints are just effectively, it's a visual scripting utility within Unreal Engine, and you can tell it to do whatever you necessarily need to. It's almost as powerful as using C++ to program any kind of game logic, and then some. You also use it to do like interactive, UI elements and that kind of stuff. And so this is how I want to set up the animation on the turrets to kind of always track something. And I'm planning, at least on the surface right now, to how that happens is kind of user defined, whether I want to be able to have the actor hand keyable or have it be automated, I guess is the best word for that. Because one of the things that I was thinking when I eventually bring this guy in is that I wanted to take all the little turrets on them and make those able to be automated, so that they can target an actor within the scene. That's not going to be for this weekend, though. I don't know if the quote unquote 3 people it says are watching. Probably only 2 at best. Possibly only 1, depending on how YouTube, determines who's watching. It's possible it's saying that I'm watching it, which technically I am because I can see the output. But also, I'm sure YouTube has a bot that's watching it, and that might count. To look for any kind of like copyright information, material and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know why the modeler is acting so weird right now. Probably because I haven't touched it in several days, and then I decide to run screen capture software. But if anyone watching has any questions I can answer real quick, that would be excellent. I have no problem answering questions. I'm trying to watch everything. Well, Stefan, hopefully I can make it work within Unreal Engine. A long time ago, I made this version of it. It will load. It's not pretty. It's basically the original textures baked to UV map and then projected right through the side of the mesh. So it's not great, but there is that version of it that does already exist within Unreal Engine. But that's not going to be for this weekend because that's going to take me some time to kind of convert, and I have to retexture it. There's really no way around that. Oops. It's coming. It's just not going to be for a while. I'm not really sure what else to talk about right now. Technically, the stream's been going for almost 20 minutes, but it's I don't really have a point to the stream other than to really just check my settings, make sure the audio's okay, and since neither of you two have complained about audio or the encoder settings, I worry it's a little bit low, but my internet in this area isn't wonderful because I kind of live in I call it the boonies, only in the sense that we are kind of in the middle of nowhere, even though we kind of jump out into the Atlantic Ocean a little bit here, but everything's kind of old world. Well, that's good to hear, Stefan. Yeah, I have my air conditioner on. Sorry about that. It's really hot today, and if I turn it off, my computer will just really heat the room. I might turn it down a notch, but when I actually go to do the proper live stream. But this one air conditioner is doing the entire downstairs of the house, so turning it off is something I can only do for a short period of time. Yeah, I assume people will, and it bothers me too whenever I'm listening to anything that has like a constant hum or buzz or whatever. I wish they sold yeah, I wish they sold like noise canceling microphones, but they don't. And my good USB microphone is actually down in Florida right now, so. It's like behind the smoke and mirrors part, where you get really close to stuff that you should never really see. It's kind of like a little, even though that's really creepy looking, little point of history. These models actually came from Foundation Imaging. These were their quote-unquote scale men that was developed either during Babylon 5 or Starship Troopers Roughnecks Chronicles. I'm not exactly 100% sure where they came, what time they came from, but they were from Foundation Imaging. I have kept these alive, even though I have long since encountered higher detailed scale people. I am probably the only person in existence still using them. I was thinking of taking some of the Unreal Engine high res characters and putting them in there, but I would have to spend some time with the character tools within Unreal Engine to pose them correctly. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got for right now. Um, I think what I'm going to spend the rest of my free time this week doing is just kind of laying out some sort of game plan for what I want to do, and then we'll see how far I can get within like 2 hours. It's one of the reasons why I want to set up all the blueprint and stuff in code, that kind of stuff first, just because if I get it wrong the first time, I'll have to then sit and research and figure out what I did wrong. Which, since it's probably been, I don't know, a year or two since I did some kind of like turret-like mechanism, that will require me to think and that kind of stuff, which will slow me down. So as soon as my brain starts working, I stop talking. So that's another problem. Which probably says a lot about me. If I'm talking, I'm not thinking. But so that's pretty much going to be it. I'm going to shut down the stream here. Thank you guys for participating, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.